It is 6:03 p.m. on Thursday, January 21st, 2021, the new year, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Tewksbury Board of Health to order. We have a couple of items on our agenda tonight. First one is approval of minutes from our December 17th meeting of last year. Both Clerk Maria Zaroulis and I have had a chance to edit and make comments in the minutes. So the minutes you see before you represent those that have passed our eagle eye scrutiny. So any members have any comments, questions, edits to be made to the minutes?
None here.
Nothing here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Maria. Go ahead.
That's okay.
She's proud of her work.
Okay. You go ahead and make the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted of the December meeting.
Okay. Who'd like the second?
I will second that.
Okay. So Dr. Bichetti has put forth the motion, and Maria Zaroulis has seconded the motion to approve the minutes of December 17th, 2020 as submitted. We'll take a roll call vote. So Clerk Zaroulis, yay or nay?
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti?
Yay.
Mr. Rue?
Yay.
And chair votes aye as well, so the motion carries unanimously 4-0. And I forgot we did not do introductions of the meeting of who's here, just because we're not all on video feed. So we'll just take a quick verbal roll call of who's present. So it's myself, Ray Barry, Chair. Maria?
Maria Zaroulis, present.
Dr. Bichetti?
Tony Bichetti, present.
Mr. Rue?
Mr. Rue is present.
Okay, and then Health Department. This will be an oddity we have tonight, and just tonight only, but we are honored to have the presence of two Tewksbury health directors.
Susan Sawyer, outgoing health director.
Shannon Sullivan, new health director.
And Urvi Agarwal, a public health nurse.
Okay, and then Kevin, you just want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Kevin Feely, Town Council.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay, moving on to new business. COVID-19 clinic discussion. So I'll turn the platform over to you, Irving, in just 1 second, but I just wanted to note that Director Shannon Sullivan, Irving, and myself had all helped out at a COVID-19 vaccination clinic that was held in Chelmsford last week for first responders that resided in towns of Westford, Chelmsford, Tewksbury, Billerica, Lowell, and Tingsboro. I think I got all the communities. And I think between all 3 days we ran the clinic, there were over 550 or so first responders that were vaccinated. So it was an amazing turnout. And then I was doing it through the Medic Reserve course, so anyone who was volunteering at that clinic was able to get their first COVID shot the week before that. So it was nice to at least have my card with the first shot and know I'll get my second shot in about 2 weeks. But it was nice to be able to help out and see how a clinic runs firsthand. And I think that's really what I wanted to have Irby talk about tonight is there's a lot out there now, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about COVID clinics and timing of getting COVID vaccines and where do you and why does it seem to be such a slow roll-up process if we've been able to run flu clinics and run people very quickly through? Why is it different with this? Are things not being run right? Why is it such a slow rollout? And we have some of the answers for you, and there are good reasons why. So with that, Irby, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. So as the chairman stated, we participated in a COVID vaccine clinic a couple of weeks ago with the 6 other communities. I did want to say that from Tewksbury, we had 38 police officers that were vaccinated. We had 30 firemen that were vaccinated and 12 dispatchers. So those are all Tewksbury first responders that were able to get vaccinated. We've also luckily been able to form a partnership with Lowell General Hospital to help some of our school nurses receive vaccination, along with the PT, OT, and the SLP. So that's been a really great partnership. So hopefully we'll be able to continue on with that relationship, moving forward. So in terms of clinic sites for Tewksbury, for us, when we enter phase 2, or actually even within the next couple of weeks while we're still in phase 1, I think the first question we have is, where are we going to hold this clinic? So we came up with 2 solutions, either the senior center or the high school. The problem with the senior center is that there's no Wi-Fi. And that makes it a little bit challenging, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. I do want to start by saying that even if you have received the vaccine, you should still continue to wear a mask, socially distance, and wash your hands, because the vaccine, it stops the disease process, but it doesn't actually stop infection, which means that you could be asymptomatic and still be a carrier, because you wouldn't be sick from it, but somebody else that's not vaccinated could potentially develop disease. So we do need to continue doing that until we're at the herd immunity level that we need to be at. Some side effects of the vaccine is you may get some soreness, some reddening at the injection site, mild flu-like symptoms, but the symptoms should resolve in 24 to 36 hours. It just means that your body is developing immunity and that the vaccine is working. So it's a good thing. I'm sure everybody knows that there's 2 options for vaccines. There's the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which is approved for ages 16 plus, and the Moderna vaccine, which is approved for ages 18 plus. So those are the 2 choices. The state has mostly been offering Moderna. In fact, I think solely offering Moderna, especially since, as soon as it was approved, essentially. So, and the spacing between the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine is 21 days, and the Moderna is 28 days. You want to try to get the same vaccine for both doses. And they say that immunity is reached 1 to 2 weeks after your second dose. So it's really important to make sure you're going back for your second dose. Plan to wait for 15 to 30 minutes after vaccination, and you must be socially distant. For the observation, we need to think a little bit about how this will work for homebound seniors. Are we going to require like a team of 2 people when we make those home visits, just in case if there's an emergency situation? Some other things in terms of an actual clinic itself, though, this vaccine is wonderful. It's a game changer for us, but it's very nuanced in the way that it's stored and handled. It comes frozen, and frozen, it can last for 6 months, refrigerated 30 days, room temperature is 12 hours. Once the vaccine is thawed, it cannot be refrozen. And once it's drawn into a syringe, you have to use it within 6 hours. And once the vial is punctured, you must use all 10 doses within 6 hours. And once a vial is punctured, you also cannot transport the vaccine. It comes with the needed supplies, including the needle and the syringe, the alcohol wipe. There's a few things that we would need to provide, but those are easily obtainable. Gloves, sharps containers, let's see. So another great thing, and once we start to really kind of start to plan a clinic, hopefully in the near future, one thing that has been a great asset has been this web-based application that's called PrepMod that the state has contracted with. And essentially, this web-based app allows you to create the clinic. It allows you to register the patients through its portal. It documents that they're vaccinated for you in the state database. So it eliminates the need for any paperwork while they're at the clinic, which is great because it saves time, which means that there's less exposure. It also submits the insurance claim to the insurance company, which is great as well, because with the flu vaccine, we have to do it all manually, and it's very time consuming. So, and that's where the Wi-Fi comes in. So essentially, as soon as you vaccinate somebody, you can enter it into the PrepMod database that they've been vaccinated. That will get into the state database, which will basically allow them to control inventory and have the numbers that they have on the dashboard for the number of vaccinations done so far. So some things to think about, if we're going to hold clinics for phase 2, that's the older population, 75 plus, those with comorbidities, 2+ comorbidities. Would that be a barrier for people to register? So we should think about, how we can help folks register if they don't have access to a computer or the internet. And then I think in terms of like another point of logistics, I think it's better to have one longer clinic rather than multiple shorter clinics, just to save on setup time and breakdown time. And it'll be, one day of being out in the field versus like doing it like for 3 or 4 days out of the week. In terms of staffing, we probably need at least 2 or 3 vaccinators, and if we want to really kind of get a high throughput, we should potentially have more than that. In a perfect world, we'd also have 1 or 2 people to fill the syringes for us, like they did in Chelmsford at that clinic, and then a clerical person to check people in and help do any documentation that needs to be done. The vaccinators, they can include nurses from, the MRC, which is the Medical Reserve Corps. We can use perhaps EMTs from the fire department, and maybe even the school nurses, I'm not sure. At the Chelmsford Clinic, they did have first responders there. And the reason for that is because, if you remember early on in England, they had some severe allergic reactions post-vaccination. And so just for medical emergency management, it would be good to have EMTs on site. And then the other thing that we talked about was the V-Safe program that we just mentioned a few minutes ago. And it's basically, it's a platform that allows you to report any side effects from the vaccination, if any. Most people just have like a little bit of soreness and they're fine. But once you register, you get the first week, you get a daily check-in, and then you get a weekly check-in through 6 weeks, and then you get a check-in at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months, and the survey shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to complete. So I think that that's really important for us to promote at the clinics as well, so that we can continue our data collection, on top of all the information that we already have, all the data that we already have. Phase 2, when can I get vaccinated, right? That's the big question. Phase 2 is they decrease the age, I believe, to, actually I need to double check on that because it's been a couple of changes made recently, but it's anybody with 2+ comorbidities such as diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, early education, K through 12, so teachers would fall under phase 2. Any sort of like essential workers within the town that are important for the function of the town. And that will be like mid-February through April, and then we can hopefully move on to phase 3, like April to June. And I think that really the problem has just been like the vaccine is available. I think it's just finding staffing, honestly, to get people vaccinated. It's staffing and it's more conveniently located sites. The state just opened up the site at Gillette Stadium, which is great. They're going to be opening up Fenway Park on February 1st. So, to do this kind of a vaccination, we really do need that kind of a venue, but every little bit helps. So we can do our part and contribute to the Tewksbury population and try to get as many people vaccinated as we can. Anybody have any questions?
I'll add a couple of things to that, Irvi.
Yeah.
Things that I also learned from the clinic. One is, because I was doing the prep mod admin side, is that this is going to be a logistical nightmare because we need to find out how many folks that are able to get the vaccine within each phase want to in fact receive the vaccine, because it's not 100%. And then because vaccines are in short supply, of trying to make sure that when the clinic is set up that we have enough. And because it's on a reservation basis, I'm not sure why, but there were folks that had registered for the first responders clinic in Chelmsford that were no-shows. And that makes it really tough, because someone that doesn't show means that someone else is not able to get a vaccine. And this is where it's not a perfect system. It's an emergency, and we're trying to do the best. I think for what's been done, this prep mod system is going to be a game changer for helping streamline this, but it's really trying to get an accurate count of how many people may want to get it, and realizing that people may say no initially and change their mind, or vice versa. But having some idea of how many people want to get it, and then knowing that, and most importantly, once you register and you pick an actual time slot to attend, you really need to attend that, because if you don't, they don't have the ability to sort of have you wait by the wings and go in, because the size of the clinics is really dictated by how big an area can you have people wait the 15 or 30 minutes after they've received the shot while maintaining social distancing. When we do this at flu clinic, if it was your first time getting the flu shot and we had you wait 15 minutes, we didn't worry about social distancing, so people could be herded in an area. This we can't, so that's why it's restrictive. And the last thing I'll mention is that we did have 10 vaccination stations running in Chelmsford, and we had probably just enough room for 10 people to go through it once, plus maybe a couple others in the area. And we were in a large room that was set up. So size of the area, and just, again, making sure that once you register, you in fact do show up at the appointed time is going to be critical for this.
I agree. Yeah.
Right, Susan, I just wanted to add that, you know, the townspeople tend to look at local public health as their vaccinator. And what the history was, all vaccines came through the local boards of health, literally through us to each doctor in the community. And then as things have changed and now vaccines are brought differently, doctors have stopped giving vaccines. So it's a different world than it was at H1N1. But it's going to be better once the actual companies or the ongoing organizations who are going to have flowing and ongoing day by day vaccine clinics like the CVS or the Walgreens. And it has been announced that there are some coming online. I think it was 15 of them. They're going to be getting, say 10,000 doses. And it's, they're doing it, and they're going to continue to do it. The local boards of health, we do, like you said, one clinic, and then we have to also plan for the next clinic, which is 28 days. And that was the other piece of the Chelmsford thing, is we really pushed, if you're here today, you must come back here in 4 weeks. And, we tried to get everyone to sign up for that. And everyone hopefully will come back. I mean, I've already signed up for mine. And I was happy to be part of that, and I'm happy to volunteer. I'll be back there on the 10th in Chelmsford for that day. And I think it was just, we did the best we could. And I really want to thank Sue Rose with Chelmsford, the director there. She literally put it all together. We are part of a consortium of towns, of 7 communities, and 6 of us participated. We've been working together off and on, for 20 years based on these emergency dispensing type sites. But we were always looking at doing the entire population in 48 hours. So there was always all these plans. but Sue really put it together quickly and ran it like she does. She's very, very good at that. And we were happy to be part of that. But we all, I think, locally, some people do want the local Board of Health, and I think mostly our seniors. And I hope, and I know that you guys will be able to run some really good clinics for the seniors. And my recommendation was to try and have the senior center and maybe the library help register the elder population, and then or their children, because we get calls from their children all the time. My dad's 94, my mom's 83. What can I do? So that would be a good thing to do. Try and reach out to the families to help, because the good thing is you can be in Chicago and register your mother here, for them. So you don't actually have to live here to actually help them, which is good. So we have a meaningful part in it, but I do believe, just like with the testing, that the long-term continuous vaccinators will be more than likely the sites where we're getting tested now, and will be the CVS's and Walgreens as they get into agreements with the government. So they'll have to figure the rest of it out, how they do it. But I really expect great things from you guys, and I'm proud of local public health and how they've stepped up.
I think we should definitely focus on the senior population. Once it's phase 3 and it's open to the general population, I'm hoping that there will be more mass vaccination sites that we can utilize, because I think that that's really the way that you would vaccinate a large population like we need to do right now. But Shannon knows we get calls every day from seniors, when am I going to be vaccinated? They have questions, they may not be able to go on the website and decide, and be able to navigate the mass.gov website, which has become very complicated, even for me to navigate. And so I think people just want to make sure that they're doing the right thing and get vaccinated when it's their turn, so that they can be safe, because people are scared, and especially the homebound seniors, because they have caregivers that are coming in. And I think that that's really like their only really point of exposure. And of course, most of those like home health aides, they should be vaccinated, but not all of them are going to choose to be vaccinated. So we do hear that from the homebound population. And again, like I said earlier, like that's also another logistical nightmare, because with the flu shot, I can just go by myself. I can give somebody the flu shot, I can leave, and I'm done. It takes 10 minutes, if that. With this, it requires me to sit there for 15 minutes, which I'm not really sure. I am not really sure how that would work out, essentially. So a lot to think about.
Well, thank you for that update. So any questions from board members?
None here. Although I do have one thing I would like to say that I know happened in another area closer to Worcester. They were running into problems with the administration of the vaccine, and some people were calling, and I kind of think that some of the sites have to get their acts together. And I know it's a very difficult thing, so I'm not using that term loosely, but I'd heard that today from some colleagues. So I'm sure it's just going to take a while for everyone to get it in, because I believe some mis or disinformation was given. And I'm not sure, like I said, Irvi said that it was difficult accessing the website. So I'm kind of thinking that, because I know that my colleagues that I was speaking with early this morning told me that they had read one thing online, and then they made appointments to go in, and then once they got there, same thing. And that's unfortunate, people don't show up, but that you can't waste time in this situation. But they did notice that what they had written on the website earlier that day was no longer available, and was removed from the website with a little bit different information. So I'm sure it's just a matter of everyone getting it together, but they will have to get that information together in a timely fashion so that people can, take advantage of it. So that's the only thing I wanted to mention, Chairman, that I was aware of. And I don't know if Irvy's in her dealing has come across similar circumstances with other communities or other sites giving the vaccine.
Well, Tony, I'll mention one thing because I think I know what you may be alluding to, and that is that
without coming out right and saying it, yeah.
Right. So at the Chelmsford Clinic, Chelmsford PD had a cruiser and an officer station at the entrance to the parking lot, and anyone coming in once the clinic was open had to both show a photo ID and a badge from their department, as well as make sure that they were on the sign-in sheet. So it was restricted to just first responders. With that said, and this is one of the things I see is the moral dilemma or challenge with this. As Irvi said, once you pop the vial top and you insert the first needle in to draw your first dose, you have to use all 10 doses. And
exactly,
that's a logistical nightmare. And Chelmsford did an awesome job of making sure that they essentially had just-in-time syringe delivery so that there were just enough syringes there to cover everyone. And then I was there to the end on Thursday, and we were down to like our last syringe per the few stations that were left. So we did not waste a drop. But when people sign up and they don't show up, now we have doses that we are going to be using that are now available. And so they did have people come in that were the target population. And so, yeah, they might have gotten their shot early, but that's because someone that had signed up hadn't come there, or just in the number that we had come through, there were going to be doses that were going to have to be thrown out. And Sue Rosa did an outstanding job making sure there were no doses that had to be thrown out. So she went out of her way to make sure that everything that they drew could be used in the appropriate time. And
no, and absolutely, it makes sense to me, Ray, and I agree. I think as a contingency matter, what we should do is have a list of people, an on-call list like they have at the airports. You have a standby list of people because sadly there will be people that don't show up for appointments for whatever. And this is kind of, a very important situation because I would hate to say it, but sometimes I don't know what happened in Chelmsford. I can only speak for other venues that I'm aware of. Someone was there and instead of going to the target population, which is mainly the elderly with comorbidities, they took a warm body that might have been a young person, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be, but I think that when they make these contingency plans, they should have a list of maybe 20 to 30 people. I mean, I don't know how many dosages are available, that people should be there just in case and say, it's like, hey, maybe you'll get tickets to the show, maybe you won't, but it's probably a better way to do it than to just have someone that's there. Maybe they're a first responder, say, hey, they call home, hey, can Johnny come up today in 5 minutes and get it done? So I just think that it might be a little bit better if we have a waiting list of people already there. And, I don't know whether Irvy's got any idea of approximately how many no-shows. I mean, I can't see how you can really keep track effectively, but that might be nice to have people that are first in the queue to get the vaccine that are willing to maybe be in the area or wait in their cars. I mean, there's no easy solution to this, but, kind of like what I saw on TV that the rest of us saw, the vaccine was designated for the elderly population initially, where most of the mortality is happening, but most deaths are occurring. And we got a few senators or a few people getting the shots before maybe they really need to. So based on statistics. So as I said, I don't know if that makes sense to you folks, but I think if that's one potential option, maybe we could consider to help have a waiting list of people that can be readily available to get down there within the time frame. Maybe an hour, maybe call them from home. And like I said, I don't know how Sue did that, but I know from a public health standpoint and being a healthcare provider, that I would rather see the people that are most susceptible to the COVID-19 virus be on this queue first before just picking someone out of a crowd that, yes, the vaccine will help them, but unfortunately, they might not have been as much at risk as others. So that's the only thing I would like to add to that, and if that makes sense to you folks. I don't think it's hard to do, but I think it might be something to think about.
Well, I'll just add discussion up by saying that Tewksbury had 4 sets of eyes at last week's clinic, and we'll again be there 3 weeks. So it's giving us a lot of opportunity to look from our areas of involvement about what worked, what didn't, and taking that knowledge back and apply it in our town.
I would just like to add one more thing. We have been told very clearly by the state, we are not to move on. Like right now, we're in phase 1. We are not to move on to the phase 2 population until we've hit that date, essentially. So we've been told very specifically that right now we are only to vaccinate those that qualify for phase 1. So that's what we would like to maintain. I know that maybe in real life situation that may not be practical, but that's what we've been told, not to move on to the next phase until the date actually comes for the whole state to move on to phase 2 or phase 3.
Okay, I understand that, Irvi. But did that actually happen for the people that had no-showed and the people that did receive the vaccine? Were they all first responders, or were they just, for lack of a better word, Cousin Vinny? You know, you call Cousin Vinny because he's in the area to get the shot, which would go against what the first.
I think they tried to. I was not there till the very end when they had if they had extra vaccine left over, but I do know that it wasn't like, oh, let me call my cousin or let me call my spouse. It was either like an essential worker in town or I don't want to speak for them because I don't really know, but I do know that they didn't move on to a different phase. We just don't want people calling us to say, well, if you're going to have extra vaccine, why don't you just give it to me? Because we've been told very specifically to make sure that we stick to phase 1 right now. And like I said, maybe on the books, that looks fine. In practicality, that may not be the case, but I'm just going by what they have reported to us right now.
Okay, no, thank you, Irvi.
Okay, any other final questions for anyone about the COVID clinics? Okay, moving on, under old business, we have a continued hearing for East Celebrity Elite, 1500 Shawsheen Street. Request appeal of a citation issued on December 3rd, 2020, violation of the travel order and failure to abide by quarantine requirements, represented by Roach, Anadidas, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher it, but Megadoulos?
I'll help you. It's Megaludis.
Okay. Megaludis, okay. LLC attorney at law. So, as it stood at our last meeting, we had left it that the board had voted that we needed additional information to be submitted to the health department by Monday, January 4th, 2021, so that we could render a decision based on available information. And the information that had been requested, and that request was again restipulated after we'd made that motion in the meeting, was that Director Sullivan, or now Director Sullivan, had requested that the 2 dates that we wanted backup from were November 22nd, 2020 and Monday, November 30th, 2020, because those were the dates of the original 2 complaints that the town responded on. And in the packet that we all received, we instead received an attendance report for Wednesday, 12/2. So we did not receive the requested information that we'd asked at the last meeting so we could render an informed decision tonight. So with that, I will turn it over.
Yes, so at the last hearing, I know that we did discuss that, and part of the issue was is from the gym's perspective was that the information was being requested after the citation had issued. So you're correct. At the end of the meeting, we did discuss providing information. We indicated we didn't have any issue providing this information. And I think at the close of the meeting, you know, I do remember making the request and say, well, which dates are you referring to? And those two dates were provided. However, when I went back, and so just to circle back, so we did file the notice of appeal of the citation, and we filed it with the Lowell District Court. So in the process of preparing that, I noted that the date of the violation that's currently the subject of this appeal and why we're actually here, as noted, the date of the violation is December 2nd, 2020. And that's the date that's on the ticket, and that's the date that we received the notice of violation, and the date that's containing that the travel ban, that the gym violated the travel ban and allowing individuals from other states to attend the gym. So on that basis, and that's really why we understood why we were here is appealing this violation. We complied with that and provided the dates that of the individuals. We provided information on the date of December 2nd and gave a roster of the athletes and the staff and the individuals who were present in the gym on that date. Subsequent to that, I did reach out to Ms. Sullivan, and I, inquired and I said, no, these are the dates we're going to be providing. This is the date we're going to be providing because the other dates, that's not why we're here. And then I guess there was a renewed request or stated that there was a question as to providing those two dates. So I guess for all intents and purposes, if we're not here on the appeal of the ticket where the violation is December 2nd, I'm not entirely sure what the relevance is of any other dates. Understanding that we provide you with the information shows where, the individuals, the students that were attending were, in fact, as far as the gym knows, these individuals are Massachusetts residents. With respect to the New Hampshire students, as we'd indicated at the last hearing, those students had been given an opportunity to attend another gym that's in New Hampshire. It's similar ownership, and they were attending the Londonderry location. So I guess the question is if we're not here on the appeal of the date of the violation of December 2nd, what the relevance is on these other two dates? Because then, I mean, those aren't why we're here.
Okay, Kevin Feely, if you'd like to chime in on this.
Sure, and Shannon, correct me if I am wrong or I misstate this. It was my understanding that there were a series of dates that there were alleged violations, and it was those 2 or 3 dates that were discussed at the last meeting of the Board of Health, and that I thought that the gym had agreed that they were going to provide the information on those 3 dates, or 2 or 3 dates, whatever it was. Am I missing that?
Nope, that's correct. So the issue was we got 2 emails forwarded to us from DLS from a woman whose child attends the gym, stating that they were breaking the travel order on those 2 specific dates. So that's why. So the way the governor has written the order, it's you do a verbal warning, a written warning, and then fine. And at that point, it was the 3rd strike of the travel order, so which is why we had written the fine. So it's a series that led up to this fine, and it's all lumped into one. They're breaking the travel order.
Okay.
Okay. So for the purpose of reviewing what's going on tonight, were the alleged violations December 2nd, November 30th, and November 21st or 22nd, one of those days?
Let me pull. So on November 22nd, November 30th, and then the health department had received a call stating they were breaking the travel order from a resident in that area on December 2nd.
So I think that the reason that again, I observed the last meeting that the board asked for the information was because there was a series of dates that were in question, and those other dates were what was discussed at the meeting, and that the gym had indicated that they were going to provide the information for all three dates. If they decided not, only to submit for one, that's their decision.
Well, I'd like to clarify that because it's not our decision. It's so to go back, the notice that we have, the violation itself that I'm looking at a violation notice, and it's dated, the date of violation is dated December 2nd, 2020. And I'm looking at the ticket, and I'm looking at the notice of violation, and that's dated December 3rd, but I think that's just the dated of it. And then I have two different dates. The only other dates that I have, if you look at the actual notice of violation that was provided, has two other dates. It says prior to the issuance of the notice of violation, the respondent received a verbal consultation and redirection on November 12th. And then prior to the issuance of this violation, the respondent received a written redirection on November 18th. At the hearing, it was the close of the meeting, and then, Ms. Sullivan had indicated, oh, we want dates of November 22nd and November 30th. I think, and we said, okay, and I think at the close of the meeting, we said, okay, that's fine. I too was under the assumption that those dates were relevant to this specific violation notice until they actually, when I'm filling out the appeal notice and I'm filing it with the Lowell District Court, I'm stating those two dates aren't anywhere in this. So to address the board's position about, we were asked for specific dates and we've chosen to only give it on one. See, I don't think that's fair. I think that we've indicated from the beginning, we're not trying to hide information. We don't mind providing the information, but from the beginning, the issue has been, it's just a moving target. This is the date of the alleged violation. No, this is the date of the violation. We're cited for completely different dates than what's being requested. And when we provide information on December 2nd showing compliance, oh no, we don't want that date. We want the dates of, no, we maintain we want those dates again. So just to kind of fast forward, we're getting back and forth on dates. The violation has different dates. You want different dates. We'll get the information to you. November 30th actually is not an issue. I think the gym will pull that, and we'll provide that differently now because that's something that the board wants to see. I would like to, though, just address one thing about the November 2nd date. I don't know this, but I suspect it. But I do think it's very pertinent to point out that the November 22nd was the day after the travel order was issued. And that was on a Saturday. So the travel order gets issued on Saturday. There's all this confusion. There's exemptions. Nobody understands who it applies to. Does it apply to the gym? Doesn't it? How do you contact all the parents? How do you know this? There were practices. Several teams had to practice on November 22nd. And at that date, Cassie, had a call or a conference with the parents, and I believe they sent out emails, and they said, parents were calling you know, what does this mean? How does this apply? Does it mean, you know, we can't go to the gym anymore? Well, what are these exemptions? We hear there are exemptions. Our daughter doesn't have to, can go to dance so there was a lot of confusion when this got issued and not a lot of answers. And I suspect, and I believe that there were in fact some individuals who came to the gym nonetheless, even with the order. There wasn't time to set up the other gym. There wasn't time to get people tested or make appointments to get tested. So I think that to ask for one of the dates to be asked for, November 22nd, I think, quite frankly, I think is unfair. Because if we provide this information and there are, as we believe, that there were individuals that were there that were from New Hampshire and who had it tested within 24 hours of an order that nobody understands and nobody knows how it applies and what's the travel form you have to fill out. I think that's a lot to ask. And I'm, you know, I don't know if my client is required, frankly, to do so when on none of the information and none of the violations issued, nowhere is November 22nd identified.
So to address the violation that I wrote, so that's kind of just lumps all the violations from all the complaints that we got. So those dates, November 12th and November 18th, those are covering a whole variety of complaints that we received from this gym. So it's about them not following the sports stuff that came out from the state. It's not just the travel order. And so I had verbally warned them, and then I had written and warned them. And then going forward with the travel order, I had warned the gym that this was going into effect because we got warned by the state. So I told them on November 18th that this was going into effect. So they had known a couple days before, and the travel order has been in effect regardless if it was bordering states. They could have looked that information up online because it's readily available. So
can I speak to
had known this was going in effect, so they could have stood at the door and not allowed them into their faccity, which sounds like at this point
did that. We actually did that, Shannon. We did do that. Can I speak for a second? I just want to back it up. I have no problem providing the dates. This is what I will tell you candidly.
Excuse me, who's speaking?
My name's Cassie. I own the gym in question.
Okay, I'm Dr. Bichetti, Kathy. I'm one of the Board of Health members, and I just, your name hadn't come up before, so okay. I'm glad. I thought we were an attorney. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I should have introduced myself. I just want to back up for a second. The travel order, Shannon and I did have a conversation in which she told me additional states would be affected. It's kind of irrelevant because they weren't at that time. All of our students who are from out of state come from New Hampshire, just to clarify that. There's no other state involved. The travel order went out on November 21st is when it was in effect. I did have a Zoom meeting. I did tell people not to come to the gym if they were out of state, and then I would clarify it on Monday. Bottom line is a very small amount. To be quite honest with you, I believe it was somewhere around 8 people showed up on that one day, despite my telling them not to. I don't know my students by name. Neither does my staff. Well, I mean, some of us do. We have no insight into where they come from. So they walked into the door. I don't know who for sure was there. It was the day after the travel ban. Following that day, on Monday, I clarified whether or not we fell into the exemption because many people were very angry with us and said, well, we paid to be here and it's not fair for us not to be there. Really difficult for me to have an argument with a parent in a parking lot. I had a conversation that following week with Shannon in which Shannon told us, no, you don't fall into any exemption. Many people thought that they did. At that point, exactly what Shannon just said, there was somebody stationed in the parking lot. When an out-of-state vehicle drove up, we told them they couldn't come in. Many people were irate with us. We lost a tremendous amount of business, but we enforced it. My issue is we have been doing our part from day one. To ask a business over a weekend on the very next day after the travel order was put into effect to try to scrutinize that day as opposed to all of the days after that in which no one violated the travel order, I feel is quite extreme and indicative of someone who's just looking to catch someone inadvertently breaking a rule, not even on purpose. Furthermore, I, I ask them a series of questions when they come in the door. Every last one of them answered no as to the question of, did they come from a high-risk state? I can't grill my customers in the parking lot and give them the third degree. I don't know where they live. So I did my best. On one day, that being the day after the travel order, there was a small amount of people who violated it. It did not happen after that. And so to me, this is not a Board of Health looking to say, hey, we really need you to be in compliance and follow the rules. It's somebody just looking to catch somebody not able to control all of their families. And I don't think that's fair. Furthermore, I also want to point out that everything that Shannon said before this about I verbally warned them. I went back through that. Shannon sent an email to Kevin Murphy at the Department of Labor. She cited us for 5 different things, all of which were not a violation. It was violating the travel order. There was no travel order between New Hampshire and Mass. It was for having out-of-state workers. They fall into the exemption. I myself am from out of state. Shannon told me on the phone that I could no longer go to work. I had to read her the exemption. There was something about us stunting, and we were stunting in cohorts, perfectly legal. And there was something about us attending future events in March in Rhode Island. Also, one thing about a staff member who had traveled to Texas and came home and failed to quarantine. Quarantining is not the rule. You have to get a negative test. I have his negative test. So we're basically previously cited for 5 different things that were not violations.
You weren't cited. That was a complaint that we got to the office, and that's what I was telling you what they complained about. Right, because
Department of Labor.
That's the complaint we received from somebody who called us to complain about the gym. And
Exactly.
I feel as this is irrelevant. We're not doing this fight again. This is about the dates that need to be submitted. That's it.
You want the date after the travel ban was put into effect, which
was agreed upon at the last meeting.
Excuse me?
It was agreed upon at the last meeting.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Well, I made the agreement, so I'll speak to that, because I believed, and maybe I misspoke, but I believed that date was those dates that you were asking were the dates of the violations until I look at it. Look, it's not, the issue isn't, we're refusing to provide the dates. I think that, and everything that from Cassie saying, just to sum it up, is that this seems to be sort of less of a we need information, more of a we need to find something. There are emails, and we have emails that suggest that this is in fact we are looking to find them. If we go on these dates, we're going to catch them. And I feel, and the gym sees this as, and I have to ask the question, is this the standard? And I think it's a fair question. Is this the standard that's being held for every business that, is everybody being monitored? Are the customers that are coming in?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to make one comment too. This is Susan, the health director. I want to say I am surprised that this is heading this way, because frankly, the Board of Health last week was extremely supportive of this. This whole conversation is not necessary. The board was very supportive. They listened. They really agreed with much of what you're saying. It does not need to be repeated. I mean, I'm not the board. You can speak. Unfortunately, Mr. Scarano is not here tonight. They basically said, we hear you if you, oh, okay, Mr. Scarano. And I won't speak for you. Basically, what I heard, and I think if you listened back, is that they heard you and they listened carefully, and they gave you one thing to do, which was provide the list. And my guess was that they were going to recommend it to be approved, your request. So I don't think that the board anyone is being unfair. And Mr. Scarano can speak to that, but I think it's unfair to bring it all up again, because there was no issue last week about that. Last month, it was already decided that you had a pathway to request your, to go forward with your request. They gave you one thing to do, and that's where I just want to say that, because I just feel like it is not necessary to go down this road.
Thank you, Susan. Bob?
Yeah, I agree. The record speaks for itself. Susan's absolutely correct in that we supported the folks on the other side of the table. They were assigned one task for us to move forward with this thing this evening. I don't think I've heard that we have that information yet.
You're correct, we do not.
And it would seem that we are here at great expense to the town. We have town council here. We're, again, entertaining the same information that was iterated at the previous meeting. We can look to the minutes. We can look to the record. And we don't have to look any further for that. But we do want to come to a resolution, but non-compliance leaves us in a position to either table this matter until compliance or someone indicates that compliance is not possible.
So if I may, I disagree. If compliance, all we're trying to point out is that compliance seems to be moving in the sense that if there's a violation issued on one day, I don't agree that says that all those dates are all encapsulated. I take a notice from the town that states date of violation on December 2nd, meaning that date. If the board is indicating that now it's viewing that these are the 3 dates that were meant to be included in the violation, we, are not refusing to provide anything. And I think Cassie's already spoken to the fact that we can provide it. The only point that we wanted to make is point out the fact that if there are going to be some situations, and as she indicated that there were, that some people did come into the gym on that day because certain steps were not taken. And if on the November 22nd, as Cassie's indicated, that there were individuals in the gym, that information is going to then be imparted as this is proof that you violated the order. But we'll submit the information. We presented the information. We're before the board. We're presenting it. Cassie, I think, has spoken very clearly on how she feels about it. I just wanted to let it be known and point out on the fact that those dates were not indicated as on the date of the violation that we received. But we'll provide the information to the board so that the board can make its decision, whatever decision it's going to make. And I guess we can leave it at that.
The bottom line, the bottom line that I will tell you is that if you ask me for any record of attendance from November 22nd on, I'm being candid by telling you that what it's going to show is that on November 22nd, 8 people violated the travel order. It was the day after the travel order. On November 23rd, moving forward, 0 people have violated the travel order. That's what I can tell you. That's the truth of the matter.
So we have she has those records and we'll provide those.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
As a board, we sit to perfect a record so that our decision reflects the facts in the record. And that record is utilized at this hearing, and it may be utilized in the future if someone intends to appeal a decision of the Board of Health. We don't have a complete record. We can't make a decision on an incomplete record because if this were appealed, it would be sent back to us to complete the record.
Correct.
So I again make the request that if there are defenses, if there are facts that need to be entered into this record, that it be provided to the board take the time and consider the facts and then make findings of fact and issue a decision. Right now, we're being frustrated from doing that, so I await the submittal that was indicated last time and the submittal that's indicated this evening so that we can consider it. I also want to say that we're not here to do anything out of the ordinary because since I've been on this board, we've been a teaching board. We've been a referencing board. We've been a board that tries to take into consideration that everyone gets the benefit of the doubt. And if we can make the system work better, that's what we do. So I take no offense to anyone advocating their positions, number one. You have a right to advocate your position, but we also have a right to have all the facts in front of us before we make a decision. I hope that we can do that, and I will yield back to the chair.
I agree with you fully, and I think the other thing I will note is, from the best of my recollection, this is the only time where someone has decided to not provide the information that we've requested. And I'm concerned in this case because I think, as you pointed out, Mr. Scarano, this requires having town council present for the meeting. Well, this is incurring costs that the taxpayers are burdened with. And by continuing this meeting to the next, or this hearing to the next meeting, again, we'll have the same request that we look for the attendance records from November 22nd and November 30th again. We're going to have town council be at the next meeting, and we haven't gotten any further at this point, and we're a month later. So I guess I'm at a loss, Bob, for what we do next. And I may sound a little frustrated, because I am, because this is something that was, to me, a very straightforward request. And
I agree, Mr. Chair. And here's generally what occurs in these types of situations when the information isn't forthcoming. We give the other side an opportunity to submit the information that's requested. We actually have heard from town council, and it ends up in our hands to make a decision on the information provided. If we don't get the information, the decision will be made on the record that's in front of us. If we do get the information, the decision will be made on the record before us as supplemented. I don't think we need town council, unless he differs in any respect from my opinion, to make a decision on the information like we do just about every other case that's before us without the assistance of town council. And I think town council has been extremely helpful here. But if this information is forthcoming, we could actually close the public hearing and consider the information and render a decision. And I don't think there's anything else that needs to be done in order to accomplish that. And I would only hear from town council as to whether or not he thinks there is anything else from a legal standpoint that he needs to render an opinion on.
Thank you, Mr. Scarano. And I concur with your analysis that you could close the public hearing subject to receiving the information by a date certain concerning those two dates, have the record closed, and then deliberate and vote at your next meeting. And I also concur that there would be no need for town council to be present at that meeting. I would like to just very briefly add, just in response to an earlier conversation that took place, that I understand that sometimes passions run hot when discussing issues like this, and I respect the business owner's hard work and effort that goes into that. I would like to say, though, that working with the health department, I can ensure the business owner that no one is out looking for violations. We respond, the health department responds when complaints or issues are raised, and they have an obligation when they do come in to seek information. This is not about singling out a business. This is about a series of complaints that they're just trying to get to the bottom of. So again, I respect that feelings can run high, but on behalf of the health department, I can ensure you that no one is singling out your business or any business. There just is, to use this perhaps inappropriate metaphor, there's a lot of smoke based on the number of complaints, and they're just trying to find out if there's any fire behind it.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Feely, and I appreciate you saying that. And I just want to clarify that I believe that we'll get you the information if it hasn't been emailed already. I maybe the information, you should have it. I think that's that was the only point that Cassie wanted to make and that we wanted to make is that we understand that complaints are made, and we certainly understand the obligation of the board to look into that. We're not disputing that. We appreciate the job that has to be done. We know it's difficult. These rules are difficult. They're being issued all the time. The only issue and question is that if these concerns were raised, Cassie and the gym would be happy to provide them, and we will provide them. We just wanted clarification because, again, I'm not going to get into it, but there were dates that were asked. There were many different dates. If these dates that are the ones that are requested, there will be violations on one date and the other date won't. And that's the information you'll have, but you will have the record so that you can have the information in order to make your determination.
Understood. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I just want to say that that's exactly what's necessary to render a fair decision, is to have all the information in front of the board. I think you've done a good job getting that information in front of the board. It doesn't have to be reinforced over and over again for us to consider that. There are a number of things here that we need to consider and understand that we do have discretion on how this will pan out, but we're going to do it based on all the facts. And again, I thank you. There's just no need to reiterate those facts any further, because I think we have a clear understanding of what your position is. We have a clear understanding of what the sanitarian and now future health director's position is, and we will entertain all of those facts to render a fair decision. Thank you, Mr. Feely. I'll return it back to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I say something, please?
Go ahead.
I'm just making a suggestion that it may be even more helpful if you offered more dates, the information for more dates. That way we could see that at the time of the dates that were in question that there was compliance, and even after the fact that you maintained compliance. I think that might be helpful. Just a suggestion.
If I can speak to that.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with anybody looking at our attendance. It's not so easy. The system isn't set up so that it just spits out the person's name and address, unfortunately. So it requires me to go through everybody that was in my gym on any given day and individually click into their profile and find their home address. It's extremely tedious. So even finding the 3 days was hours and hours of work. So I don't mind providing whatever is needed. I can't spend 8 hours a day coming up with information on days that I don't even have any violations. I have other work that needs to be done as well. So I think Natalie's going to email over probably to all of you. I did already compile it for the 3 days in question. I'd like to submit that. Again, I'm being candid by telling you the 22nd, the day after the travel order, has 8 violators. No other days do. And I don't know what more to say. There's the business of the customers that used to be out of state. For the most part, they no longer attend the gym, and we've lost their business because they're furious with us for prohibiting them from coming. So I, as a business owner, it stinks. It's not your fault, but that's what I can provide. I guess I will provide those 3 days if it hasn't already been sent, and you guys can render your verdict, and we'll move forward.
So what date do you plan on submitting this data by?
I can submit it to you momentarily. It's compiled and ready to go. So I'm assuming that Natalie has your emails.
If you send them to me, I'll send them over. I'll get it to you tomorrow.
There you go.
To the board tomorrow. If Cassie
No,
has
everything you send has to go through the department, then the department sends out to the board.
correct. Yes. Or the department. I've been I email Shannon. That's who I've been emailing. If there's somebody else you want me to email it to, I'm happy to do so.
No, this goes to Shannon, then she'll forward it to the board.
That's how we do
May
it.
I ask a question?
If
Go ahead.
that's the decision, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if that's the decision, I don't see anything else to discuss. The information is forthcoming. I discussed that I think that we can close the public portion of the hearing subject to receiving this information, which will allow us to consider it and deliberate. So I'm going to make a motion that we close the public portion of the hearing subject to council's submittal of the information that was requested. And that would be the basis of the motion this evening.
Okay, anyone willing to second that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. So motion's been put forth and second to close the public portion of the hearing. We'll take a verbal roll call, yea or nay. Vice Chair Scarano?
Yay.
Clerk Zaroulis?
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti?
I just had one question on this before I make my decision. If we can get this information momentarily, my concern is why do we just go through the exercise of the last hour when this could have been submitted as initially intended?
Mr. Chairman, that's probably, in all due respect to Mr. Bichetti, I can understand his position that it may have resulted in an extended period of time to conduct this meeting. But right now, I think we're beyond that.
Yep.
And we have a motion on the table.
Yep.
Okay, well, I did want to ask that question before, but I'll agree to close the public portion. But that's fine.
Okay, and Mr. Rue? Yea or
One
nay?
comment. I am not at all surprised that with Mr. Baker's executive orders flipping and flopping and, moving up, moving down, going sideways and whatnot, that this type of thing happens. I'm not at all surprised. It's very confusing on this end, and I vote aye.
Okay. Chair votes aye as well, so the motion carries unanimously 5-0. So the public portion of this hearing is now closed. Okay. Moving on. Director's reports. We have a food safety report from Lisa's Pizza. So Director Sullivan.
Hi, so the consultant performed another inspection on January 12th, and it looks like they only had 2 core violations during that. So that's nothing priority or priority foundation, so just some minor violations that they had. And then they inquired how long they have to keep up with the inspections, and I told them that they needed 3 consecutive reports for 6 months that have 0 priority and priority foundation.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what we discussed because we want to make sure it's not just up front that everything is fixed and going as it should, but it continues that way.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you for including that report. Any board members have any questions on the Lisa's Pizza report?
None here.
I don't have any. Vice Chair has just a comment, no question.
Go ahead.
And the remedial portion of compliance that was issued in the Lisa's Pizza decision ensures the public safety because we had serious considerations. And I'm glad to hear that the core violations are down considerably. And I think that they are aware that this scrutiny will continue for the public health's benefit until such time as they're in compliance and there are no violations as stated by the director.
And I just have one question, because I know we had sort of two things going on. We had the failed inspection, but at the same time too, we'd also granted a modification to the variance for the Big Dipper, and one of our concerns there was that we wanted to make sure that they were able to properly maintain the replacement Big Dipper type equipment that was going to be installed. And I'm trying to remember exactly what our conversation entailed in terms of what would satisfy us that they were properly maintaining it.
I might be able to refresh your memory on that. Remember, they did have an engineer. They did have some manufacturing assistance from the manufacturer on maintenance. They are keeping records on their cleanings, both daily, weekly, and monthly. And that information is available to the department to further determine whether or not they're in compliance with the modification of the variance conditions.
Yeah, as I'm looking through this inspection report on page number 4, they do have a small picture of what appears to be grease shield daily maintenance record. So I think you're correct, Bob, that we had asked them to submit records of the maintenance to the health department as sort of a verification that they're able to comply with the required maintenance of it. Well, I'm fine. Thank you for that refresher.
No problem.
Okay. Anything else, Director Sullivan?
Nope. Just the announcements part, but that's not the report.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have any board reports, so I guess staff reports. So anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add that Shannon and I will be presenting the budget to the Finance Committee next week, like we normally do every year. And I can send you all a copy of that. Of course, we have some requests for additional help to help the health department get back up to speed. When it comes to COVID, I recommended that, it's going to take a year or so to get back to a good position with food inspections and such. So I put in a request for that and a couple of other things. But the Finance Committee has always treated us well, and look forward to having my last meeting with them and introducing Shannon to them.
Okay. Yeah, I got an email from the town today about the budget request, so we'll have to look at that. And I guess go ahead.
I had one question for Susan. She mentioned that the budget was going in front of the Finance Committee. I didn't know if she knew the dates that have been set for consideration with the Finance Committee, warrant articles, town meeting dates. I'm just wondering if she's privy to any of that information yet.
I have not been sent any of that, but I'm sure it will be going to Shannon shortly. I just know our one date.
All right, thank you.
It's
And
soon
Bob-
going to be election time too, Mr. Scarano, or election time coming up again soon.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
I
Can't
believe
believe
it is, and
comes
I
around.
believe it is, and I can't believe that my tenure is up for reconsideration.
3 years, unbelievable.
Blown by.
Are we accepting mail-in ballots?
I'm hoping that traditional balloting will take precedence this year, Mr. Rue.
Well, there will be no hanging chads this year, so that's good to know.
That's reassuring.
You're dating yourself, Ray.
I know.
I don't know if Shannon knows what a hanging chat is.
She probably learned about it in history. Well,
Oh boy.
say that this has been an unusual week or two with the health department because there have been 2 directors there, but sadly we're going to be very soon approaching just 1 director being in the office. So again, Susan, while we have this opportunity, I just wanted to say it's been an enormous pleasure to have worked with you these years, and it does not seem like you've been here for 5 years. Time has flown. So thank you for all that you've done for the town.
It doesn't, and when it comes to retiring, it's like I haven't been here for 20 years, so it's not like a gold watch situation. But I've said it before; it's definitely been the best 5 years out of all my 27 years. So definitely appreciate your support.
Hey, Charlie, if we can't get a gold watch, any chance you can get a gold septic tank for Susan as a thank you?
Golden throne.
And give me the
I
plunger.
have a couple of
Give me a
shovels
plunger.
available, and I know we're gonna pass, that we're gonna cross paths again. I will anoint her a new shovel.
Well, thank you for all your contributions, Susan.
Yes, Susan, and I can say I hope you can consider the parade, the parade that you're due. And unfortunately, because of the times, we can't do anything but make this parade part of the public hearing process this evening. But we appreciate all you've done, all your direction, all your support, and your very, very great knowledge and wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck. Sorry we didn't finish everything that we started, but you never finish it in public health, so you just have to deal with that. And I know things will get done. Ray working on his masterpiece for the all the regulations, and be the showpiece, and work on the body art, and anything else that's coming up. I know that will get done, and Shannon's going to be great, and Lisa's great support, and you'll have a really good crew.
Yeah, no, you left the department in a very good place, so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, Susan.
Okay, any last member or board member comments before I ask Charlie to make his motion? Okay. Mr. Rue, if you want to make a motion before we get into the hour-and-a-half mark.
This is my favorite part of the meeting. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we conclude tonight's meeting with a major thank you to Susan. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, I'm willing to second the motion.
I'll second it.
The motion. Tony
Okay.
seconded.
Okay, Tony seconded. So motion's been put forth and second to end tonight's meeting, and once again give Susan a big thank you. Take a roll call vote. So Vice Chair Scarano,
Yay, yay.
Clerk Zaroulis,
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti,
Yay, Thank you, Susan.
Mr. Rue?
Yay.
And chair votes aye as well. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. So I guess it's unanimous. We say thank you, Susan.
Thank you, everybody.
It's 7:28, so good night, Tewksbury.
Good night.
Good night.